Everyone wants to experience an amazing love story written by the very hand of God. But so few of us are willing to go through the trials and hardships God requires to create a story worth telling. Are you in a situation where you feel like you're the only one putting in the effort to communicate with someone you care about? Do you find yourself constantly reaching out to check in with them, only to be met with silence or indifference? It can be tough to navigate these kinds of situations, especially when you're grappling with strong feelings for someone who doesn't seem to reciprocate them. But here's the thing. If you're the only one making an effort to connect, it might be a sign that this love is unrequited. In a healthy relationship, both partners are motivated to communicate with each other and share in each other's lives. The exchange of energy is balanced, and no one person bears the sole responsibility of staying in touch. So, if you're in a situation where you're constantly reaching out to someone who doesn't seem to be reciprocating your efforts, it's important to take a step back and reflect on why that might be. And that's where God, our loving Father in heaven, comes in. Even when it feels like our emotions are running wild and we can't control them, God is still there, guiding us toward what's best for us. In this sermon, we'll explore 4 reasons why God might be allowing those feelings to take hold, even when it seems like we should let them go. Sometimes it's the right person at the wrong time. Have you ever met someone who you felt an instant connection with, but for some reason, it just didn't seem like the right time for the two of you to be together? It can be frustrating when you feel like you've met the right person, but circumstances just aren't lining up. Well, I have some good news for you. God's timing is perfect. Even if it seems like the wrong time, if the person you've met is truly meant to be in your life, God will make sure it happens. As the saying goes, if it's meant to be, it will be. It's important to remember that God is the author of time. He existed sans time, without time, before He chose to enter into time and space. His will is not governed by man's timing. In fact, His will governs man's timing. So even if it seems like the timing isn't right, trust in God's plan for your life. Now, I know it can be hard to understand how God's will works through the free choices of people. But as Ephesians 1 verse 11 says, "In Him we have obtained an inheritance, having been predestined according to the purpose of Him, who works all things according to the counsel of His will, so that we, who were the first to hope in Christ, might be to the praise of His glory." Basically, God's plan for your life was set before the beginning of time. And if being with this person is part of that plan, it will happen, no matter the timing. So don't lose hope if you have met the right person at the wrong time. Keep your faith strong and trust in God's perfect timing. He may be using this time to prepare you for the relationship or to grow your character. And who knows? Maybe down the road, the timing will be right and everything will fall into place. In the meantime, enjoy the journey and make the most of every moment. Remember, God has a plan for your life, and it's up to you to trust Him and His timing. God is taking away the feelings at His own pace, not yours. We've all been there, haven't we? Holding on to something that we know we should let go of. Maybe it's a toxic relationship that we've been trying to end for months, or a job that we know isn't fulfilling us anymore. Whatever it is, it can be hard to move on, even when we know it's the right thing to do. It can be frustrating when we feel like we're not making progress in letting go of those feelings. We might wonder why God isn't just taking those feelings away from us, especially when we've been praying about it for what feels like forever. But the truth is, sometimes it just takes time, and that can be a hard pill to swallow. We want everything to happen quickly and easily, but that's not always how life works. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine had been in a relationship for several years, but things had started to go sour. They fought constantly, and she felt like she was always the one putting in all the effort to make things work. She knew deep down that the relationship wasn't healthy for either of them, but she just couldn't seem to let go of her feelings for him. She prayed about it constantly, asking God to take those feelings away from her. But weeks turned into months, and she still found herself thinking about him all the time. She started to feel frustrated, wondering why God wasn't just removing those feelings from her heart. It wasn't until much later that she realized that God had been working on her heart all along, preparing her for a new relationship that she never could have imagined. But in order for her to be ready for that new relationship, she had to go through the process of letting go of the old one. And that process took time. It's okay to feel like you're holding on to something that you should let go of. But remember that God is with you every step of the way, and He's working on your heart even when you can't see it. Just keep praying, keep trusting, and know that in due time, God will renew your strength and give you the courage to move on. God is preparing you for a new relationship. Sometimes God allows us to hold on to feelings for someone because He's using those feelings to prepare us for a future relationship. It might be hard to understand or accept in the moment, but trust that God has a plan in your life, and that plan may involve a different person than the one you're currently holding on to. Love is created by God, and only He can use it for His greater will. In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, 4-7, it says, "Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things." So if you're holding on to feelings for someone who you know deep down is not meant for you, trust that God has a plan for your life, and He is using this experience to prepare you for something better. Have patience and endure the pain, and believe that God's timing is perfect, because you have not made a conscious decision to move on. To truly move on from someone, you need to actively choose to let go and start thinking about other things. Just like you can't stop breathing, you can't stop thinking, but you can focus your thoughts on different things. As the Apostle Paul wrote in Philippians 3:13-15, "We must forget what lies behind and strain forward towards what lies ahead." This means pressing on towards the goal of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus and thinking maturely. Forgiving and moving on from someone can be a difficult process, but it's important to remember that God often wants us to take action first, and then our feelings will follow. We don't have to wait for our feelings to change before we start moving forward in our lives. In fact, taking steps toward a new direction can help us let go of the past and begin to focus on the future. As you focus on moving forward, God may allow you to forget about the person you're trying to move on from. This is because God's plans for your life are always moving forward, and He wants you to be a part of that plan. So don't let the past hold you back from what God has in store for you. Let go, forgive, and start moving forward with faith and trust in God's plan for your life. Moving on from someone you have loved and lost is never easy, but it is possible with God's help. Remember to give yourself grace, trust in God's timing, and take intentional steps towards healing and forgiveness. Through prayer and the guidance of the Scriptures, you can find the strength to let go of the past and embrace the hope of a new future. Keep pressing on toward the upward call of God in Christ Jesus, and He will lead you toward the path of healing and restoration.